So today I'm going to be talking about why we don't need inclusivity. Nah, I'm just kidding. But I am going to talk about a creator that feels like we need to bring exclusivity back. Hence, we don't really need inclusivity. We're going to talk about it today. This girl a mess, y'all. Hi guys, welcome to my channel if you're new, and welcome back if you've been around here a while. I'm Kendra, this is Kind Get Create. This is where I talk about my life. I also talk about other things as well, and that's what I'm gonna talk about today. Make sure that you subscribe to my channel, make sure you like this video. We're gonna get straight into it. Okay, so there was like a Victoria's Secret fashion show or whatever that recently happened. I didn't see it, I don't know anything about it. Honestly, don't really care, okay? But there was this creator that came on TikTok and she talked about the fashion show, okay? So that's just a little bit of context, and I am going to show you that video.
Okay, I'm gonna be the bitch and say it since nobody else will. It's okay for things to be exclusive. Like, not everything needs to be inclusive. For example, like, I feel like we're all seeing the Victoria's Secret fashion show. Like, that was never intended for everybody to be able to do. That is why they were called angels. They were out of this world. They were godly. They were angelic. Like, that was never meant to be obtainable. Same thing like the NFL. Like, not everybody's meant to play in the NFL. Same thing with Harvard. Like, not everybody's meant to get into Harvard. Like, the exclusivity is what makes it special. It's like what makes people like have drive, want to work hard for something. And the reality is that, like, for some people, no matter how hard you work, you might never actually be able to do that just because of your genetics, but that is okay. Like, I think we need to bring back some exclusivity. Like, I don't think we need to be so inclusive at all times for everything. Of course, there's a time and place for everything, but like, we're going too far. It's like, what is there to work for? Like, if everyone can just do everything, then like, there's no want and desire anymore. Does that make sense? Like, am I the only one? I know I'm not the only one that thinks this. And some of you are gonna hate me for this video, but you know what? It just needs to be said. I'll never be a Victoria's Secret angel. I'm 5'6", but you know what? That's okay, and I can admire them, and I can admire all the hard work that they put into it. And you know what? Maybe I'll work really hard, and maybe I'll grow a little bit, and like, that'll be the thing. But like, that's okay. I have other strengths, and I'm gonna use them where those are like best served. I don't know.
Okay, so she said not everything needs to be inclusive. So I worked in disability services at a university. That is what I did. And part of disability services is make sure that we are providing inclusive spaces on campus and also within online format to students for their classes. I am a person that believes inclusivity. I believe in it. Like, I need it as a Black woman in America. I believe in it. Now, do I think that everything should be inclusive? There should be lines drawn, and that is something that I did see within working in disability services. As much as we want to create those inclusive environments and spaces, sometimes it could possibly be impossible to do that. And I give you an example. So there were students who were taking culinary arts classes. So there would be a lab situation set up for them to actually be cooking in the classroom. And so you would have to be around knives, you would have to be around preparing food, et cetera, et cetera. There is a person that needs a service animal, which is fine. We want to provide them with their, have the space to be able to have their service animal. Yes, great. Can you bring a service animal into a kitchen? No, you cannot. Like, you would not be able to pass health and safety standards and food inspections. And do you really want to go eat at a restaurant that has animals in the kitchen with the possibility of contaminating your food? Yeah, probably not, right? So there are lines to be drawn within those situations. And that was a real life example of accommodations that we could not provide in that certain case for a student. So yeah, not everything needs to be inclusive. But when you're talking about underwear, you're talking about freaking bras and panties, I don't think it really it doesn't matter And I think that it matters so much to people because in their mind, whoever was on that runway walking in that fashion show was not their ideal body type and what they found to be attractive. So therefore, they should say that person should not be in the fashion show. Like, it just blows my mind. And she went on to say that. She said that angels are thought to be, and you know, these models or whatever are thought to be angels, so they're to be angelic or heavenly. I could have sworn that cherub babies were like cute and chubby. Like, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm off, but that was her line of thinking, that these people who were in the fashion show should not be included because they weren't angelic. Now, when I was at my biggest, I could have been like 250 pounds and I thought I was angelic. And I'm just like, it's bras and panties, y'all. It's bras and freaking panties. It's underwear, it's undergarments. Like, no one cares. And I don't think that people get it in their head that plus size people wear undergarments. Like, so plus size people probably want to see how that undergarment looks on someone who's bigger. And I think that's also kind of what we need. And this is an aside to that whole point. In the plus size modeling space in the fashion industry or whatever, there's usually one type of plus size person that they put on display. It's usually a person that is like a size 14, 16, which is small, fat or whatever. And they usually have a flat stomach. They usually have rounded hips. They usually have like an ideal type of body type. That's just an aside, but everybody's not shaped like that. Okay. And so do I even think it needs to be inclusivity in more of a broad range of body types in the plus size space? Yes, because everybody doesn't look like that. And sometimes people just want to see how a certain thing looks on them or a certain body type. And I would even go so far as to say, this is way as an aside, people want to see how things look on them even with their skin color. Because I know that I'm a lighter skinned Black person, but my chocolate babies be having trouble like finding makeup shades or things that will look good on them. And that's a whole uproar in the beauty community. That's totally off topic. But do we need inclusivity? Yes, we do. We do. We just do. So no, we shouldn't bring back exclusivity. No. But exclusivity still does exist. I mean, have you ever tried to buy a Birkin bag? Like, have you ever tried to buy a brand new Birkin bag? Like, those are very exclusive and those are very hard to get. Like, and a lot of things are. But undergarments, girl, be for real. Be so for real. And I want to talk about the two examples she used. She talked about the NFL and she talked about Harvard. Once again, these are not clothes that everybody needs and everybody wears. She's talking about a sport, right? The NFL, that you have to train and condition yourself for. Their whole purpose is to win games so that they can get a good reputation and get money for the organization. So they are going to go with the top tier because their whole reason is to get top athletes to win games. So no, everybody is not going to be drafted into the NFL because they can't run that fast, or they can't throw as far, or they can't, I don't know, guard someone or tackle someone or whatever they do. They just can't because they can't keep up. It's about athleticism and winning games. It's totally different than clothes, which are a need for human beings in our society. We need clothes. You can't walk around without them. And people want to know, how is this going to look on me? It's not that big of a deal. And then the other example she used was Harvard. So Harvard is an educational institution that has been around for a very long time, and they have certain set standards and guidelines that they have to get into their institution. And the reason why they have those guidelines is they want to make sure that the students that are there at their school can keep up with the coursework and that they can pass the coursework. I don't know if you guys know this, but students passing is part of their not only reputation as the institution, but also they have to meet certain standards to get federal funding. So they have to have a certain number of students pass the classes. They have to retain a certain number of students, which means that the students come back to the school. They have to have a certain number of students retained as well to get federal funding. So if they are admitting students that do not meet their guidelines, that aren't passing their rigorous courses, that aren't staying at a rigorous university, they may lose their federal funding. And who wants to lose federal funding? Like, you cannot compare underwear, which is a need for people here in Western society, to a prestigious academic institution, because not everyone goes to college and not everyone is playing football. So her points are really moot. And while everyone may not be this angelic figure, and not everybody wants to be a model or walk down a runway, but people do want underwear, gosh darn it. And if they want to see how that underwear looks on people their size, then why shouldn't they have it? It's really not a big deal. But I think this speaks to a larger point that society is just not over people being fat. And society is just not over people displaying their fat bodies. Like, I don't care. I don't really care. A lot of people said it's glorifying obesity. Well, there's always going to be fat people, and fat people need clothes too. So let them just see how the clothes look, and then they'll decide if they want to buy the clothes or not. It's not really a big deal. It's really not. And beyond that, I think it is, and you know, you guys know, if you watch any other of my videos on fat acceptance or whatever, I do not use the term fatphobic loosely. But when you say, or when you have a problem with someone modeling bras and panties, you got to check yourself, and you got to realize that you don't want this happening. Why? Why don't you want it happening? You feel like you want to continue the standard that's been set. Why? Why do you want it to continue that way? Why? Oh, because she says people will have no want and they'll have no desire to do what? To be stick thin skinny? Because that's what a lot of those models were and are. I haven't watched it personally, but I know there is a documentary out there on like models that have worked in the industry for Victoria's Secret, and it was brutal on them. It was brutal on their bodies. It was brutal on their self-esteem. It just was. So do we want to continue those set of standards, or do we want to kind of open ourselves up to looking at things differently? And this is from a person who was nearly 400 pounds, and now I'm under 200 pounds. And while I'm not the skinniest, I'm definitely not obese anymore. So it just makes me think that we have a bit of a ways to go for people in society and how they view fat people, and even like their worth as a human being. Like, people can't even model undergarments, something that is a need for people, without people really getting offended by it, up in arms by it, making whole entire videos with really no points about it. So that's my thoughts on that. And I appreciate you for watching. I'd love to have you comment and hear what you got to say about the whole entire video and your thoughts about the fashion show. I didn't watch it, don't really care about it. But yeah, what do you guys think about it? What do you guys think about it? I'd love to hear your responses. Thank you so much for watching my videos. Make sure you continue to spread kindness in the world for light. I'll see you on the next time. Bye-bye.